You're watching India Global. We now turn our attention to the disturbing news coming in from Bangladesh. Well, the viewers, we are saying it for a reason that Bangladesh is on fire. Dhaka is on fire. Well, what's happened is that there's now a group of protesters who've now come and further attacked whatever is remaining of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's legacy in Bangladesh. His ancestral house, the house where he lived, has all been, earlier it was burnt down, the museum of Bangabandhu was burnt down earlier, and now his ancestral house has also been taken down completely, all while Sheikh Hasina was trying to address Bangladesh virtually. So there's a message that's happening here. Listen into Sheikh Hasina, we come back and talk more.
আমি তো আমার নিজের জন্য কিছু করতে যাইনি, একমাত্র ৩২ নম্বর বাড়িটা সেটাও তো আমি জনগণকে দান করে দিয়েছি আমরা ২ বোন। হ্যাঁ, জাতির পিতা পরিবারের নিরাপত্তা দেওয়ার জন্য একটা আইন করা হয়েছিল। সেই সূত্রে একটা বাড়ি রেহানাকে থাকতে দেওয়া হয়েছিল। আর আমার স্বামী, তিনিও চাকরিজীবী নিউক্লিয়ার সায়েন্টিস্ট ছিলেন। তার একটা বাড়ি ৫ নম্বরে, যেটা জয়পুতুলের। আজকে সেই বাড়িও পুড়িয়ে দেওয়া হয়েছে। আমাদের মুক্তিযুদ্ধের ইতিহাস, আমাদের গৌরবের ইতিহাস, আমাদের বিজয়ের ইতিহাস। এই ইতিহাস কেউ মুছে ফেলতে পারবে না। আমি জানি এটা মুছে ফেলার চেষ্টা হচ্ছে। সংবিধানকে ধ্বংস করা, জাতীয় পতাকা ধ্বংস করা, অনেক চেষ্টাই করা হয়েছে। কিন্তু লাখো শহীদের রক্তের বিনিময়ে যে পতাকা পেয়েছি, যে সংবিধান পেয়েছি, যে স্বাধীনতা পেয়েছি, তা ওই কয়েকজন বুলডোজার দিয়ে ভেঙে গুঁড়িয়ে দেবে এ শক্তি তাদের হয়নি এখনো।
You heard Sheikh Hasina there. She was trying to speak to the people of Bangladesh and to send a message, to drive a point home. The house of her father, or in fact father of Bangladesh, was completely destroyed. What you're seeing on your screens, viewers, are those images of complete vandalism. It's very fair to say that Mujibism is now pretty much dead in Bangladesh. What's the future like for Dhaka? What's the future like under Yunus's government? Well, no one knows, because law and order and machinery of the state stood in complete silence when all this was happening. Let's put out those big questions that we are putting out, and we will put out to our panelists in just a short while, about what happens to Bangladesh from here on. The big questions. Well, first, after Mujibur Rahman's house was torched, is this erasure of Bangladesh's history? Has the law and order machinery completely collapsed in Dhaka, in Bangladesh? And is this political witch hunt that's taking place and continuing against Awami League? And lastly, how will, if at all, Mohammed Yunus will address this violence? What is his answer to this? Because the apparatus, the state apparatus, has been completely compromised. Let's get in my colleague Saurabh Gupta, who's joining me live to talk to us about, well, those disturbing visuals. Saurabh, you've been working up the phones. Talk to us about what your sources are telling you about how it's unraveling and continues to unravel, really, in Dhaka.
Well, Gauri, as you know, we've been to Dhaka, we visited this museum, this particular museum, and it's of course a tribute to Bangladesh's founding father, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. What unfolded yesterday in the streets of Dhaka is absolute chaos, anarchy, with the law enforcement, well, standing by or simply letting things unfold on their own without really doing anything to stop it. And this is something that's been continuing. In fact, Awami League supporters, Awami League leaders, Awami League, politicians have all at some point in these few months faced some sort of threat or some sort of action or some sort of, harassment. But what unfolded yesterday at 32 Dhanmondi, which is of course a place that's not only seen violence this time around, it's seen violence in the past. It's been the ancestral home of, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. It was turned into a museum. And yesterday, of course, there was this bulldozer procession. And those who had given the call for this march, of course, they were not officially any group other than these groups that have been protesting. But what clearly seems to be the case on the ground, and this is what we've been hearing from a lot of people we've been in touch with in Dhaka, is that things seem to be unfolding pretty quickly, and there seems to be a systematic event systematic effort, I beg your pardon, to completely dismantle the legacy of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And in that attempt to dismantle the legacy of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, what's happening is an attack on, of course, his family, but also in this particular instance, an attack on a museum, a memorial, a tribute to him, to completely try and erase him from the page of history. Remember, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was someone who fought alongside the Mukti Jodhas and the Indian Army to secure Bangladesh's liberation in 1971. It was a hard-fought liberation. The Pakistani army committed atrocities. The Pakistani army targeted women in Bangladesh. And it was a very difficult battle, but it was a battle that was won. And that's something that Sheikh Hasina mentioned in her speech as well. That look, this is something that we've fought with the blood of Mukti Jodhas. And this is something that cannot be demolished so easily. Definitely not with a bulldozer. And that's something that probably, a lot of people are thinking. A lot of people who are watching the situation in Bangladesh is also wondering, where is the administration in all of this? Why is it conspicuous by its absence?
Indeed. Where is the administration, and why has the state machinery completely collapsed or surrendered to those Islamists? Saurabh, as always, appreciate you joining me on the broadcast. Let me, in fact, put that question to Pinak Ranjan Chakrabarti, former High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh. Mr. Chakrabarti, the question that one wants to know is that what is happening in Bangladesh? The trigger to continue to dismantle Mujibur Rahman's legacy continues. There is no end to that. The cycle, it seems that what started on 5th of August continues unabated.
Yes, unfortunately, yes. And what we are seeing today is basically, a joint effort by Professor Muhammad Yunus and his supporters to erase, or as he himself said, to press the reset button in terms of rewriting history or whatever they wish to do. Of course, their argument is that Mujib has been, unnecessarily elevated to a position of demigod and things like that, and he has to be brought down to earth. But unfortunately, that's all very well. I mean, history can be written, rewritten, etc. But you cannot wipe it away. I mean, the fact is, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was the inspiration and the leader of the freedom struggle. Though, of course, he didn't fight in the war because he was in prison in Lahore. And but people fought in his name. And this number 32, the house, is where he lived and where he was assassinated. And then it was turned into a museum. So this is the situation now. There is a complete breakdown, I think, of, in this case, of course, it was all, it wasn't a breakdown of law and order. It was allowed to happen because the people who are now in control and who are on whose shoulders Professor Muhammad Yunus is resting are basically the Jamaat-e-Islami, which was the collaborator of the Pakistani army,
Yes.
which committed genocide in 1971. Today, they are basically fighting back in the sense that, and since hate has become the central driving force of politics or whatever politics is left in Bangladesh.
Yes.
This was expected because the Jamaat-e-Islami has a visceral hatred for Hasina and the Awami League, because Hasina had formed the tribunal which convicted all their leaders, the Jamaati leaders who were complicit in the genocide of one, and they were hanged. So I think there's a lot of bitterness, and this is basically all based on revenge that we see today on Sheikh Hasina's family.
Indeed. Sir, hold your thought there. Let me put that to Muqtadir Rashid, joining me from Dhaka. Muqtadir, you heard Ambassador Chakrabarti there. What is driving these extreme, disturbing developments in Bangladesh right now?
Thank you for having me. So my analysis is different than Pinak Ranjan Chakrabarti, the High Commissioner in Bangladesh. I know him very well. So first of all, I believe the New Delhi should not allow a most hated woman in Bangladesh to go on social media this way, so that she can instigate her party member to destabilize the country anymore. On the other hand, I firmly believe that Dr. Yunus could not achieve any success in last 6 months, and no miracle he has, or he can show anything that's so much, would be appreciated by everyone. So when allowing this, people like this, I would say the mob, or if you can say the student and people, allowing them will be keep busy the whole nation, so that he will not be held accountable for his failure. Because we have seen that the press wing of Dr. Yunus every day holds their press conference, come up
So
with
arson is
some
how
issues.
you have deflection tactics? Deflection tactics is through arson,
absolutely.
destruction of history?
This is how he's doing, because you will keep busy with this, because inflation is high, law and order situation is not that much. On the other hand, I firmly believe that they want to instigate army, and army is very much respectful to the democracy, and because army chief and his comrades are very much aware that only peaceful power transition should be done in Bangladesh in next course of action. So it would be help this administration if army, in a shaky position, and Dr. Yunus government can rule over them, so they can stay power for like 2, 3, or 4, or 5 years. So this
How
could
unfortunate would that be? Do you agree with that, Ambassador Chakravarti? Let me bring you in on the other side of what this entire issue is.
Well, if it goes on like this and there is chaos, as we have seen from past incidents in history, that army being the most organized institution in the country may well be forced to step in. Because this has happened. I have seen it myself in 2007. And earlier, of course, we have had military dictators who stepped in when there was chaos and things like that. So Bangladesh is not new to these things. And there has been chaos before, and the army has stepped in. So what I sometimes suspect is that that if it goes on like this and things go from bad to worse, the economy is already tanking. Things are not very good. I think the army will be forced to, take over, and that may well be the end of what is happening today. This process that we see, or these instances that we see of unnecessary kind of thing, breaking down the house, or setting things on fire. You're destroying your own property. And I don't think this is very wise. But these things happen when mobs are allowed to rule, because these people are not rational. I think they are just being motivated by their sentiments and angst, etc. But this is not the way that Bangladesh should be going. I am very, very depressed and sorry that this is happening, because I have seen a much better Bangladesh and an economically, progressing
prosperous,
Bangladesh.
Economically prosperous, progressive,
prosperous,
secular, following the constitution. All of that has completely ended. Muqtadir Rashid, how long before this cycle of violence and arson actually breaks?
I will reply in different way. I don't think it's a big deal. So if you see the footage, it's not more than 5% of people across the country, the population we have. It's a very minimum percentage of the population. They are ruling the mob, or the mobocracy in Bangladesh, which is very unfortunate, because Dr. Yunus should follow the course of on the way to democratic process. But unfortunately, we have seen the way it has been done. It's just completely you can say that it's a breakdown of law and everything. They want to show these people, maybe they are instigated by few of the social media influencer, and I suspect many could be involved with the current political process, who want to instigate army so that they will take power, On the other hand, they want to create a chaos
Yes.
so that they can stop democratic process and can linger their power so that the Tariq Rahman or BNP or other political party cannot come to the power by any means. Thirdly, I will finally say, they know they don't have to take any responsibility. They will scapegoat all the student leaders who are very much, I'm very hopeful about the student leader who can be the future of the, many of them are very secular, many of them very progressive, many of them very, centrist, whatever. This mechanism or who are plotting the game, they are very much aware that they can make the student leader a scapegoat. So they are putting all, they will ultimately put all the
That's an
blames
important
on
insight.
them.
That's an important insight. But Ambassador Chakravarti, what are India's options? They've been limited ever since Islamists have been mainstreamed right now in Bangladesh. But what are India's limited options in Bangladesh right now?
Well, India cannot really interfere in any physical manner, in the sense that the Bangladeshis have to sort out their own problems. And in my view is that because I have experience of the caretaker administration that was there in 2007 and I dealt with them, and ultimately there was a consensus that the only way out was to have elections and have a free and fair election, have a good voters list. I saw all that happening, and that can be repeated, and that can happen again, and have a proper voters list and have elections. And whoever wins, hand over power and then let them handle it. That is the democratic way. But today, I think that situation is not there, as we saw during that period, 2007, 2009.
Yes.
Because today, there are all kinds of activists and all kinds of people involved in this who have their own interests. And
Indeed.
I sorry to say this, but I think the interim government, or whatever I think it's called the interim government, because that itself has no existence in the constitution.
Indeed, they have no locus standi. All that Unisys government had to do.
They have failed to manage.
Indeed. All they had to do was make way for elections to happen. That hasn't happened. 6 months is a very long time. Thank you so much, gentlemen.